Aegon, one of many I'd wager.
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. A lot was revealed in the 9th episode of House of the Dragon, especially about King Aegon II. Tom Glencarney nailed the briefing about King Aegon II. King Aegon was a debaucher and loved only himself. He is an irresponsible brat who doesn't want to shoulder the burden of the crown and only wants to live in luxury. Being the firstborn male heir to King Viserys' lineage, he thinks of himself as invincible and assaults anyone he wishes, from royal women to maids and whores. His mother, Queen Alicent Hightower, has huge ambitions for her son, but Aegon II doesn't care about it. He is a playboy, and like his uncle, Prince Daemon Targaryen, knows his way out of the palace. According to the episode, he took his younger brother to a brothel and had more than one bastard in the Red Keep.
How you've grown.
His reputation precedes him, and thus, after he fled the Red Keep, many pretended to be his children as a chance to have a claim at the Iron Throne. But one stood among all. He was known to be the Cunny King. At the age of 4, and House of the Dragon just introduced the show's game-changing character, Gaemon Palehair, in a brief shot at the underground battleground, Let's Dracarys. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Prince Aegon spends many a night in this place. Do you see now what he is?
How was Gaemon Palehair discovered in House of the Dragon? In the recent episode of House of the Dragon, titled The Green Council, we're met with the news that King Viserys died. Otto Hightower calls for a small council and communicates Viserys' wishes. He gains a lot of support for his claims, and others fear to oppose him when Criston Cole brutally murders Lord Beastbury during the council meeting. Alicent is also astonished to discover that despite his statements to the contrary, her father Otto intends to assassinate Rhaenyra and her family to eliminate the apparent threat to Aegon's rule. While she believes that putting Aegon on the throne would fulfill her late husband's wishes, she is aware that he would not want his beloved firstborn daughter assassinated in the process. Whoever gets to Aegon first and convinces him of what needs to be done prevails, so father and daughter rush to reach the prince first, only to discover he's gone missing from the palace. Otto Hightower sends members of Kingsguard, Ser Eric and his brother Ser Eric, to find Aegon and bring him straight to his grandfather. Meanwhile, Alicent sends Sir Criston Cole and Aemon Targaryen to find her son so she can persuade him to spare Rhaenyra's life. During their search, the two brothers find themselves in an underground battleground where they stage child fighting pits. A horrible scene is made more horrible when the brothers realize Aegon has abandoned at least one bastard there when he sees a young child with silver hair in a brief shot. But theories suggest that this kid might require more screen time in future seasons and will play a huge role during and after the Civil War. The kid will become known as Gaemon Palehair, and he'll go on to become a king, at least a pretend one during Moon of the Three Kings and Aegon III's cupbearer and friend. Who was Gaemon Palehair? Gaemon Palehair was the son of Essie, who operated at the House of Kisses on Silk Street as a prostitute. During the riots in King's Landing, many women from several establishments on the various streets claimed that Gaemon was the bastard son of the Aegon, the Elder. With hundreds of followers, the boy was dubbed the Cunny King at the age of 5, and his mother was known as Lady Esselyn. Several edicts were issued on King Gaemon's behalf, particularly in support of women's rights and care for the impoverished. But Gaemon was without an army and followers, both of which were needed if he were to become king. Naturally, his mother and her friends devised a strange plan to recruit soldiers. The women freely bestowed their favors on any man who vowed his sword to the false ruler. However, even though he had several hundred men behind him, the makeshift army was far from disciplined and highly vulnerable to even a small but organized army. Boros Baratheon and his men charged Wysennia's Hill from 3 directions and captured the Pretender King. He was captured along with his entire fleet for conspiring against the crown. However, Gaemon was spared by King Aegon II, considering his young age, but his mother and the other followers were hanged. After the death of Aegon the Elder, the throne was passed to Aegon III, who took Gaemon in as the crown's ward, because he often reminded him of Aegon's missing brother, Viserys Targaryen II. King Aegon III made him his cupbearer and king's whipping boy.
You once wore your banners to Rhaenyra, you must now pledge them to the future king.
The implications of a new contender to the Iron Throne. When the Dance of the Dragons begins, Gaemon is about 4 years old, and his mother was a small folk woman named Essie. Oh yes, later on, she starts calling herself Lady Eslin. Aegon never claimed Gaemon, but the women of the House of Kisses raised him as king, following Aegon's disappearance and with Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne. Gaemon Palehair, mostly known for being Aegon's bastard, is one of 3 pretender kings during the Moon of the Three Kings, when Rhaenyra flees the capital amid a series of uprisings. Gaemon rules from the House of Kisses and supposedly has thousands of followers, including sex workers, mummers, robbers, drunkards, sellswords, and thugs. They say Dothraki were uncivilized, but Gaemon's army and followers were far worse, believe you me. As per the Westerosi customs and inheritance rules, bastards could not inherit the throne, especially if legitimate heirs existed. By 133 AC, all of Aegon's children were dead. If he had legitimized Gaemon, the bastard and his generation forward would have ruled from the Iron Throne. It wasn't till Daemon II, Aegon the Unworthy's illegitimate child, that a bastard ruled the 7 kingdoms. But these were medieval times, right? Naturally, there was no way to confirm the legitimacy of a child since DNA tests didn't exist. So often, the legitimacy would be proved by a certain trait like hair, facial structure, and skin color, by which standards Gaemon looked very similar to Aegon, especially because of his silver hair. Still, he was never accepted by Aegon. So the question remained, is Gaemon really Aegon's bastard and had a claim to the Iron Throne, or was there something else entirely? Is Gaemon really Aegon's bastard? As the 9th episode of the House of the Dragon suggests, Aegon Targaryen has had many indiscretions, and the silver-haired child in the corner of the battleground might not be his only bastard. We have also seen his ruthless and bratty nature as he assaulted young women around the Red Keep, one of which is seen to be comforted by Alicent in episode 8. Given that Alicent could only prevent the births of the women Aegon molested within the Red Keep, there's no telling how many children he fathered in Flea Bottom. In the same way that Robert Baratheon's bastards, such as Gendry, were verified by their black hair in Game of Thrones, Aegon's bastards are difficult to dismiss when he displays his Valyrian silver hair. In House of the Dragon, however, there remains some dispute about Gaemon's lineage. According to Fire and Blood, Gaemon's mother, Essie, is tortured into admitting that Gaemon's actual father was a humble oarsman from the city of Lys. Interestingly enough, this man had silver hair. Being lowborn and unworthy of the sword, Essie and the Dornish whore Sylvena Sand were hanged from the battlements of the Red Keep. Some believe this was most likely a fabricated testimony, designed to save the Targaryen name from blemishing and giving the throne to a commoner. But that is further from the truth, because Martin himself confirms it in the books. Even though Gaemon wasn't given the claim to the throne, it didn't stop him from getting close to the royalty, and he was a close confidant of King Aegon III, the successor of Gaemon's alleged father.
This is Aegon.
Gaemon's friendship with Aegon Targaryen III. Gaemon was accepted into the royal household and became friends with young King Aegon III Targaryen. After Aegon II was found poisoned, Lord Cragan Stark stayed within the Red Keep to protect Aegon III. The young king-to-be was trapped in Maegor's holdfast during the Hour of the Wolf, and Gaemon was his only friend there. Lord Stark had kept the boy king there so that he did not meet the same fate as Aegon II. Gaemon was the melancholy king's lone friend and his cupbearer. As I said earlier, Gaemon reminded Aegon of his missing younger brother, Prince Viserys Targaryen. When his council members inquired about a favoured heir, Aegon nominated his cupbearer, Gaemon, because he had been a king before. The Master of Arms, Sir Gareth Long, wasn't happy with the king's closeness to Gaemon, who by now was Aegon's food taster as well, and Sir Gareth made him the king's whipping boy, brought up with the king and would have to suffer for the king's mistakes. So, what's a whipping boy? Well, sometimes young children are made kings, but they are still children and will commit childish mistakes or lack manners. And yet they cannot be punished for these things because they are kings. So, the regents choose a young boy similar in age to a king and punish this kid for the king's mistakes. Gareth aggressively reprimanded Gaemon anytime Aegon did not meet Gareth's expectations. Despite his victories in combat, Aegon loathed Gareth's harshness to his companion. When Aegon chose Daenerys Velaryon during the Maiden's Day cattle show, he had his cupbearer make the announcement. Aegon, according to Muncan, began to disregard both his wife and Gaemon after the unexpected reappearance of Prince Viserys. Gaemon's end. Gaemon Palehair didn't live a long life, but he certainly had a more adventurous life right from from his birth. Being the people's king at the age of 5, and then being the king's friend, food taster, whipping boy and confidant, Gaemon Palehair lived by loyalty and honoured his friend. Once, in 135 AC, Gaemon and Queen Daenerys Velaryon complained about stomach aches. The Maesters rushed to help the queen, but did little to save Gaemon, and hence the queen recovered, but Gaemon died, leaving Aegon inconsolable. During the hidden siege, Aegon refused Ser Gareth Long furiously because the Master-at-Arms had frequently thrashed his late companion. Septon Bernard declared that Lord Thaddeus Rowan, a former hand of the king, poisoned Gaemon and Daenerys with tears of Lys in an attempt to execute Aegon, but the king understood that Thaddeus had just been tortured into creating absurd and false confessions. Following the collapse of the rebellion against Aegon, the new hand, Lord Torren Manderley, presided over the trial of those condemned of poisoning Gaemon and scheming against the king. What do you think will happen to Gaemon in the House of the Dragon? Do tell us your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.